Tonight on News Hour, new moon of Ramadan has been cited as first day of Ramadan 1446 after Hijrah will be on Saturday, March 1st. President Tinubu signs 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget into law. Kaduna court remands 2 students over killing of fellow student. And on the international scene, Ethiopia's Abiy visits Somalia, holds talk with President Mahmoud. Good evening. Welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Sumaya Abubakar. And now the details. Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Saad Abubakar, has announced that Ramadan fasting will begin on Saturday in Nigeria. This was sequel to the sighting of the Ramadan crescent in some parts of the country. The Sultan, who is the head of Muslim faithful in Nigeria, made the announcement in a live broadcast Friday evening.
Today, Friday, 20th day of February 2025, equivalent to 29th day of Shaban, 1456, after the hijrah of our most noble leader. It was the end of the month of Shaban. Reports of positive sighting of the new crescent of Ramadan were reported to us by various leaders across the country. And we have verified and authenticated such reports and duly accepted such reports. Therefore, tomorrow, 1st March 2025, makes its first Ramadan 1446 after Hijrah.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the 2025 appropriation bill into law, approving a record of 54.99 trillion naira budget aimed at driving the economic growth, infrastructure development and debt servicing. The signing took place on Friday at the State House in Abuja, witnessed by the key members of the National Assembly, including Senate President Godswill Akpabio and House Speaker Tajuddin Abbas. The State House correspondent Kehinde Amodu has more on this.
The budget passed by the National Assembly on February 13 was increased from the initial 49.7 trillion naira proposed by the President. It marks a 99.96 jump from the 2024 budget of 27.5 trillion naira, reflecting the administration's fiscal expansion strategy. Key budget components include total expenditure at 54.99 trillion naira, statutory transfers with 3.65 trillion naira, recurrent expenditure at 13.64 trillion naira, and capital expenditure at 23.96 trillion naira. Debt servicing is set to gulp 14.32 trillion naira with a deficit to GDP ratio of 1.52%.
Our national GDP growth rebounded to 3.86% compared to the last quarter. Revenue increased to 21.6 trillion. Naira rebounded, reflecting our resilience. We have reduced deficit significantly from 6.2 in 2003 to 4.17%. Forest reform is working the foreign exchange.
So when you came to the National Assembly with a very ambitious budget of 47 49.7 trillion. Little did we know that working with your team, we'll find a way to discover other sources of bringing revenue in. And today, you're about to make history by signing the largest budget ever done in the history of Nigeria since independence, 54.7 trillion. So I want to say congratulations, sir. We on this side of the aisle, we believe strongly that anything that can bring about and alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians, any policy that you propose that can alleviate the suffering of Nigerians, be rest assured of the support of the National Assembly, both chambers. We will go with you. We are behind you.
The signing of the budget took place on Friday at State House, Abuja. The presence of key members of parliament, including Senate President Godswill Akpabio and House Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, demonstrates that this document has the buy-in of the National Assembly. The 2024 budget is expected to fund critical sectors, including infrastructure, security, and social services, while also addressing rising debt obligations. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Right now, to discuss further on this, we have someone joining us virtually, Steve Wanchuku, a financial analyst, to give his take on the situation. Good evening, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's good to have you always. Now, let's talk about this bill that the president has signed into law, talking about trillions of naira. So with the aim of course, driving infrastructural development, economic growth, and also the debt servicing. So in your assessment, given the current economic climate in Nigeria and the realistic goals, would you say these goals are realistic? I think basically that would be the question. And what are the key economic indicators that you'll be watching to gauge the success of this budget?
Well, good enough that Mr. President have signed the 2025 Appropriation Act. Is now a law, and what is left is for the implementation. Coming to those components of the budget that may be a sort of high expectation and a sort of challenges to the implementers and to Nigerians who also have a lot of expectation that this budget may actually relieve Nigerians from the current economic sufferings and hardship that Nigerians are passing through. So first, I think I will have to commend the President and the National Assembly to have, done it right to pass the 2025 Appropriation Act and Appropriation Bill and President signing into law. And let's look at those challenges or the expectations. First, the expectations are that to an extent, there will be a level of implementation of the key components of the budget, those budget line items that will touch the lives of Nigerians. There are also expectations from the side of the revenue generating agencies to meet up with this very budget, which has over 23 trillion naira as capital components of the budget. So a 54.9 trillion is a lot of money. So the revenue generating agencies need to start working hard to make sure that these revenues are raised, to make sure that this budget is implemented. It's also expected that the NNPC will quickly move on to ramp up production of crude oil to meet the budget benchmark of 2.06 million barrels per day of crude oil production. So it's also expected that the fiscal discipline will also be, matched with some level of efficiency in spending, with some level of cutting off wastages, cutting off duplications where they may occur in the 2024 budget. Then the challenges now may also come from the point that you have a budget of 54.9 trillion and your revenue expectation is less than what you actually have to implement the budget. It simply means that you will be hitting the market again to raise close to 13 or 14 trillion naira. That is the challenge that the budget has. So hitting the debt market is a big challenge because our debt profile, like you talked about, also is close to 60 or 62% of our GDP. So it's quite alarming. So that is one component of the budget challenge. And you also have this very challenge also that the capital component of the budget and reoccurring, or the capital component of the budget is still less than what we have as recurrent. So government and those who are engaged in planning from the Ministry of Planning and Budgeting and Finance need to do all their best to make sure that we up the capital components of the budget to say that this very budget actually impacts in the lives of Nigerians. Thank you.
Appreciate you. I think you answered basically all the topic that there is, lingering and concern on this topic. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Steve Wanchuku. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, moving on to more stories. The Supreme Court has barred the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, the Accountant General of the Federation, and other agencies from releasing funds to the government of Rivers State until it purges itself of what the court describes as flagrant disobedience of court order. In an hour or 1 hour, 30 minutes judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Akomaye, the 5-man panel of the court unanimously dismissed the cross-appeal filed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara challenging the validity of the House of Assembly, presided over by Martin Amawule as the Speaker. In dismissing Governor Fubara's appeal, the court ordered Martin Amawule to resume sitting immediately with other elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. The court held that it is an aberration for Governor Fubara to have purportedly presented an appropriation bill before a 4-man House of Assembly, thereby denying 28 constituencies of effective representation in vagrant violation of a court order mandating him, that is Fubara, to represent the 2024 appropriation bill before a validly constituted assembly led by Amawule.
Supreme Court has made it very clear that you cannot have a democracy without a legislature. The Supreme Court has made it clear, cannot say that the government without the legislature. It is unheard of where anybody will say 3 people will constitute an assembly to make laws for the entire state. It's unheard of. It has nothing to do with an individual, whether you like this person's face or not. But it is what is important is that can 3 people make law for a state? Not to even talk about appropriation. The Federal High Court said, look, you can't do this. You cannot do it. And therefore, set aside everything they've done. 3 people will screen commissioners. 3 people will all kinds of things. A governor will go and bring down a house of legislature and will do as if nothing has happened.
The wheel of governance will continue to run in Rivers State, and Governor Fubara, the executive governor of Rivers State, will continue to drive that wheel of governance in Rivers State. These cases originated even before this simple cross-carpeting on where the budget should be presented, which led them to the issue of getting a judgment that said allocation of the state should be freezed in enforcement of that particular judgment. This issue and development today has not decided the ongoing and pending matter on the legitimacy or legality of that illegal decampment by those SAC pro-Wike lawmakers, which is currently, as I speak now, ongoing at the Court of Appeal. Because there's one issue that have not been resolved. That these people left the People's Democratic Party to the Action or Progressive Congress APC with the belief that they will get support to illegally impeach the governor. But when that did not work, they kept on running from one court to another.
Tensions remain high at the Lagos State House of Assembly following a dramatic standoff involving the recently removed Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa. This development has unsettled the political atmosphere in Lagos State despite hints of a possible solution. The report.
The crisis escalated as Speaker Miranda accused her predecessor of forcefully re-entering the Speaker's office, calling the act a big one. While acknowledging that the ousted Speaker remains a House member, Miranda condemned the manner of his return.
I think to me that was just a show of shame, because in our job we have numbers that form quorum. So if you are sitting with 3 or 4 members, you're only doing theater.
Miranda also raised concerns over a drastic reduction in his security detail, noting that he now has only 3 or 4 officers instead of his usual 18-member team. It dismissed any assembly proceedings conducted by a small faction of lawmakers as illegitimate.
I think 3 or 4 policemen, whereas my normal convoy, my team, 12 policemen, 4 DSS, and 2 anti-bomb. But as I have it this morning, I don't have that.
Meanwhile, Honorable Okundikpe Stephen, chairman of the House Committee on Information, Strategy and Security, confirmed that the Assembly had received reports of an invasion and that investigations were ongoing.
To show Lagosians that it is our house. This is Lagos State House of Assembly. After leaving the court, you can see our attendance, you can see the manner we all came in peacefully, and we've been maintaining this peace since day one. So we are enjoining everybody, Lagosians, Nigerians, to see, and we've always been emphasizing that we are committed party people. We are committed party chieftains, and we are elected, and things will be done in accordance. Things will be done in accordance with the law of this country.
As the situation unfolds, Lagosians await further developments from the Assembly leadership.
Still on legislative tensions, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from Kogi Central has accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexual harassment. The lawmaker, who has dominated the headlines over her spat with the Senate President, made the claim in a TV interview. In her interview on Friday, the lawmaker said she has evidence against Akpabio, stating that her husband is also a witness. She said she had printed screenshots of conversations between her and Akpabio, challenging the Department of State Services, the DSS, to extract details of their conversation because he was always calling me on WhatsApp. The Kogi senator had a heated argument with Akpabio after discovering that her seat was changed without her consent. She was subsequently referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions for disciplinary review. Chaired by Senator Neda Emaswen, the committee was given 2 weeks to report back on its findings. This followed a voice vote after lawmakers revisited the controversy surrounding the issue, with lawmakers underpining the need to uphold parliamentary rules and decorum. Akpoti-Uduaghan had filed a 100.3 billion naira fundamental human rights suit against Akpabio. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Friday arraigned a former governor of Abia State, Theodore Orji, and 4 others at the Abia State High Court for allegedly misappropriation about 47 billion naira. Apart from the former governor, the other 4 defendants are his son, Engineer Chinedum Orji, a former commissioner of finance and for Abia State, Philip Nto, a government contractor, Obioma King, and a former director of finance for Abia State, Romas Madu. They were all arraigned before the Chief Judge, Justice Lillian Abai, on a 16-count charge bordering on conspiracy to steal and convert the billions of naira meant for various government programs. A chief magistrate court in Kabala Doki, Kaduna State, has ordered the remand of 18-year-old Marcus Kefas and 17-year-old Innocent Yakubu, both SS2 students of Government Technical College, Malali, for their alleged role in the murder of their fellow student, Ahmed Musa. And Ahmed Musa, who was originally a student of the Government Technical College, Kajuru, had been transferred to Malali due to insecurity in his former school. Trust TV's Bello Musa gives us the details.
6 suspects were brought before the court, but Kefas and Yakubu were identified as the prime suspect, accused of conspiring to kill Musa. 4 other individuals, Timothy Abba, 56, Joseph Ogoni, 41, Bulus Adamu, 42, and Francis Adamu, 48, all members of the Kaduna State Vigilance Service assigned to secure the school, were also charged with negligence and failure to report the incident to the authorities. Justice Nahid Ibrahim has scheduled the murder trial for April 8, 2025. The deceased's father, Musa Muhammad, is demanding that the Kaduna State government compensate the family with 560 million naira for negligence.
The police, custody, they were brought before the magistrate court of situated at Kabalandoki. So what the judge said, she mentioned all the allegations against them.
Ahmed Musa was the only child of his mother, Maria Abdullahi, who collapsed after the court proceedings. His body was discovered tied up within the school premises. Bella Musa, Trust TV News.
Armed bandits launched a deadly attack on 6 communities in Faskari local government area of Katsina State, killing 2 mobile police officers and 20 civilians. The assailants, who struck Thursday night, also abducted an unspecified number of women and children, leaving many others wounded. Victims are currently receiving medical care in various hospitals. According to reports, the bandits burned down sugarcane farms, houses, vehicles and motorcycles during the assault. The affected communities include Unguwar Baki, Raudama, Unguwar Buntu, Unguwar Namande and Bakin Gulbi. While residents described the attack as one of the deadliest in recent times, they commended the police for their response but called for more proactive measures from other security agencies. Security forces reportedly neutralized several bandits during the encounter, which lasted over 5 hours. However, locals lamented that the attackers had mobilized for nearly 8 hours without intervention, suggesting that a swifter response could have prevented the massacre. A wave of grief swept through the affected communities as residents laid their loved ones to rest Friday morning.
Allah ara masu rana sannan bokansu tura naga an wuce da gawa yamma ni zama naga an wuce da gawa awal dan wuntu na zata sagir ne da yake da naga ki da riga bujiranti din nan hana jirki na ya ƙara sanyi wallahi waya ta can wajajen
6th Brigade of the Nigerian Army Jalingo, Taraba State, said it has recovered 1,913 weapons within its area of operations in the last 1 year. The disclosure was made at the brigade headquarters in Jalingo on Friday during a visit by Major General Eyitayo Folusho Onyilola, the General Officer commanding GOC 3 Division and Commander of Operation Safe Haven. The brigade commander, Brigadier General Kingsley Uwa, who briefed the GOC, said the weapons recovered include 34 AK-47 rifles, 5 locally fabricated pistols, 6 pump-action shotguns, 1 locally made gun, 1 Browning gun, and 1 rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Other recovered arms include 5 locally fabricated submachine guns, 15 single-barrel guns, 1 double-barrel gun, 1 PKMG, 1 locally fabricated AK-47 rifle, 1 locally fabricated revolver, and 1 hand grenade. The GOC, Major General Onyilola, however, commended the troops and urged them to intensify operations against criminal elements in the state. He emphasized the military's commitment to restoring peace across Taraba and ensuring that banditry and other security threats are effectively neutralized. In a robust effort to enhance security across the Federal Capital Territory, the FCT, The FCT Police Command has intensified its crackdown on criminal activities, showcasing an unwavering commitment to protecting lives and property. In a statement, the command said between February 6th and February 23rd, 2025, the command conducted a series of intelligence-led raid operations targeting criminal hideouts, black spots, and abandoned buildings throughout the territory. The statement further said these high-impact operations, executed with precision, focus on crime-prone areas including Kurudu, Dutse Alaji, Kubwa, Uye, Galadimawa, Ido, Kuje, Apo, Zuba, Asokoro, Karshi, Karo, Biazin, and other strategic locations. As a result, a total of 245 suspects were apprehended, and these individuals, according to the police, are currently undergoing thorough profiling and screening, and those found culpable will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. The Force Pathologist Office of the Nigerian Police is stepping up efforts to combat the rising cases of femicide, emphasizing the need for better data collection, stronger law enforcement collaboration, and increased public awareness. To report.
Assistant Inspector General of Police Aishatu Abubakar Baju, the first gender advisor to the Inspector General of Police, highlighted the importance of accurate data in addressing gender-based killings. She noted that without proper records, investigating and preventing femicide becomes challenging.
Is that the police is committed to ensuring that we respond effectively to cases of femicide in our society, but most importantly, we can't do it alone. We need the partnership, we need the collaboration of stakeholders, be it traditional rulers, be it social society organizations, and everybody.
The Force Pathologist Office stressed the urgent need for improved data systems, better forensic infrastructure, and community engagement to tackle the crisis. Assistant Commissioner of Police and Pathologist Dr. Samuel Kashiru outlined key challenges faced by law enforcement in handling gender-based homicide cases.
You can see that we are in between analyzing those data. We are supposed to do, for this project, we are actually doing retrospectively 5 years to look for femicide in Lagos State for 5 years using police records. So in this police record, we have done about 3 years, and we can see there are a lot, about 1,000 or so cases of female deaths. No, about 1,000 cases of all deaths were reported to the state CID. And out of these deaths, we have over 200, about 200 that were actually female homicide. And now we're going to sit down to analyze that 200 female homicide to know which one is femicide. If you can remember, femicide is female homicide that is gender-related motivation is in it.
Experts, including Titular Viver Adeni from the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency and Dr. Abosede Salami, ACP, also called for stronger preventive measures.
There's patriarchy, there's our socialization, and then there's also the culture of impunity. People committing offenses and thinking they will get away with it. And so these are some of the triggers or some of the factors that are attributable for the increase in reporting of femicide. And so again, as government, our responsibility is to ensure we encourage survivors to break the culture of silence so it doesn't get to that point of femicide, and more importantly, hold perpetrators accountable.
Now we've been mapping out the data, and then going forward, we'll study the data. It will inform our officers to know which areas in the state to focus on, and then also how we can also partner with the governments who are our stakeholders to implement policies that would help eradicate this.
With security agencies, policymakers, and advocacy groups joining forces, Nigeria is taking a stronger stance against femicide. However, experts stress that lasting change requires public cooperation, early intervention, and strict enforcement of laws to protect women from gender-based violence.
Now moving on to more stories. The Nigerian Publishers Association has sought collaboration with Media Trust Group during a courtesy visit to its corporate office in Abuja. President of the Nigerian Publishers Association, NPA, Lukman Dauda, led a delegation to Media Trust Group on Thursday, emphasizing the need for strategic partnerships to enhance the association's visibility. He highlighted NPA's role in protecting and promoting publishing in Nigeria since its establishment 60 years ago, noting that it currently has about 300 member publishing houses. In response, Hamza Idris, the acting editor-in-chief and chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust, assured the delegation of Media Trust support in promoting the association and fostering collaboration.
It's the investiture of the president. So, as part of our agenda, or part of our programs, we promised to rebrand the association by way of promoting the image, allowing for more visibility. Because like I said, I won't be surprised if most of you seated here will claim not to know anything about NPA. I mean, that is not your fault. It should be our own fault. And when we look at, okay, how do we make this happen? Then you have to go to the right channel. And where is the right channel? The media houses.
People are passionate and they are giving their best. So the offer you come with on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, who is unavoidably absent, Ahmed Shekaru, is attending the board meeting. And I am representing him, and we are representing him all together. We're also representing the board and management. So we want to thank you for coming.
The House of Representatives has vowed to pass tax laws that align with Nigeria's interests following a 3-day public hearing on executive-sponsored tax reform bills. The series is set to reflect on alternative views to the controversial legislation. The report.
The Congress of University Academics was the first to present its summation supporting tax reforms but opposing the proposed increase in value-added tax. Instead, it recommended maintaining the current 7.5 rate while expanding the tax base.
The union opposes the proposed increase in value-added tax, VAT, as outlined in Chapter 6, Part 1, Section 146 of the bill. Instead, it advocates for maintaining the current rate of 7.5% while expanding the VAT base to include additional taxable items that are not yet covered.
Other stakeholders, including the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, NIPC, and the Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, APCON, also weighed in on the reforms.
The application shall be accompanied by a non-refundable fee of 0.1% of the qualifying capital expenditure incurred or to be incurred, subject to a maximum of 5 million naira, and no further fee shall be payable in respect of such application.
With these tax reforms, it will be transferred to the end users, if so be, because most of the transactions done by the Bureau de Change will eventually be transferred to the end users. It will worsen the inflation as we depend highly on importations. It will lead to unemployment, as we know.
The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, was recalled to share insights on free trade zones.
What we recommend is a closer collaboration between customs and NEPSA, and secondly, a review of the Enabling Act, which was last done in 1992, to see if there are emerging dynamics in the economy that needs to be corrected.
The Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms assured its willingness to collaborate with the Finance Committee to address public concerns.
Anything that you want us to provide data and the reasoning behind the provisions, will be ready to make those contributions. And so, therefore, we thank you very much for this opportunity.
Committee Chairman Honorable James Falake assured that all submissions would be reviewed to ensure new tax laws reflect the aspirations of Nigerians.
For us, as members, as elected members of the National Assembly, House of Reps especially, we assure you that we will do the needful to this bill and give Nigeria a law that, of course, represents the views of all Nigerians.
The tax reform bills has continued to divide public opinions since inception.
The Borno State government has reaffirmed its commitment to utilizing tax revenue for the socio-economic development of the state. At a press briefing, the executive chairman of the Borno State Internal Revenue Service, Professor Bello Alhaji Ibrahim, announced that the agency exceeded its 2024 revenue target, generating 28.3 billion naira, a significant surplus over the projected 19.3 billion naira. This performance ranked Borno as the 12th best tax-generating state in northern Nigeria. Professor Bello attributed the success to harmonized and flexible tax payment mechanisms, which have improved compliance and boosted collections. Looking ahead, the agency has set an ambitious revenue target of 35 billion naira for 2025. He emphasized that the state's resilience and commitment to economic recovery from the devastation of insurgency have played a key role in its fiscal success. The increased revenue, he noted, will enhance infrastructure, social services, and overall economic development in Borno.
So for us internally, what we do is we set ourselves, another goal. We set ourselves another target. For example, presently we are aiming at 35 billion naira, inshallah, for the year, even though the state expects 25. So this is the yardstick with which we measure our progress and whether we are capable and whether the environment is supportive and what is wrong. And the performance of the year 2024, I must say, were affected by a number of developments. The flood, for example, the flood in Maiduguri and environs, which affected virtually everybody, to accept that taxation is a civic responsibility which does not go in vain once it is done.
The price of dates has significantly dropped after a recent sharp increase, according to a market survey conducted to assess the fluctuation. This drop has garnered good news for most buyers as the Ramadan fast sets in. The report.
Despite being an all-season fruit, dates in Nigeria are mainly imported from Algeria and Niger Republic. The fruit, highly recommended in Islam for breaking fast, sees a surge in demand during Ramadan, often leading to price hikes. Last year, a measure of dates is sold for 3,500 naira to 4,000 naira. This year, prices spiked to 7,000 naira, but have now returned to the previous range, with traders attributing the drop to the reopening of borders. And I sell dates. These dates are imported from Algeria. Previously, we sold a measure for 7,000 naira, but by God's grace, the price has now dropped to 5,000 naira. Last year, around this time, the price ranged between 3,000 naira and 3,500 naira, meaning we have seen an increase of 1,500 naira to 2,000 naira this year. Prices of goods have generally gone up, but things are improving. Our biggest challenges are exchange rate fluctuations and the numerous levies imposed by customs and security agencies. They set up checkpoints along the highways, demanding money before allowing us to pass. We pray for an end to this hardship and urge our leaders to intervene. People are suffering and the masses don't know what to do. Dealers cite foreign exchange rates, multiple taxation, poor road networks, and fuel subsidy removal as major challenges affecting their business. Some sellers anticipate further price reduction in the coming weeks. The price of a measure of dates is now 6,000 naira. We sell to both consumers and traders. Our biggest challenge is transportation costs. The price is cheaper compared to what it was before. Our biggest challenge is the road network and border restrictions. Sometimes you have to take hidden roads to avoid security checkpoints. The poor road conditions, especially in Taraba State, make things worse. Vehicles often break down, causing delays and extra costs. When bringing goods from Niger, we pass through Katsina, Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, and Gombe. But once we enter Taraba, the challenges increase significantly. 100 naira's worth of dates now gives you 6 pieces, whereas before it was only 3 pieces. Our main challenge is the high cost of fuel. We source our dates from Jibia in Niger Republic as the variety grown locally is different. The respondents called on the government to intervene and address these seasonal challenges and its impact on Nigeria's cost of living crisis.
The Borno State government has reiterated its commitment to ensure that the people of Borno benefit from Governor Zulum's 25-year development agenda and 10 years transformative plan. This was disclosed during a training in partnership with UNICEF on dissemination of Borno Monitoring and Evaluation Readiness Assessment Report. The workshop aims to improve capacity of staff, strengthen governance, accountability, and evidence-based decision-making in the state. It also served as a platform to provide and build effective policies, programs, and interventions that will impact on the lives of the Borno people. The Commissioner of Reconstruction, Rehabilitation, and Resettlement, Isa Garba, said the state government is monitoring its performance and is committed to better the lives of the people.
You know, we have the 25-year development plan, as you have heard of it, and then a 10-year also long-term development plan, which we are implementing. And so we are following it strictly, and we are achieving results. If you have been monitoring it very well, we have been opening up settlements across the state where the people that were either to displace from their communities go back to their communities and settled.
When we have done a monitoring and evaluation assessment report, it is key that data informs what we do, informs Borno State government, how we implement our programs, where we are, what's the path, and where we are going to. So data is important for our work.
An overview of the findings shows that Borno State shows a low to moderate readiness level for the result-based monitoring and evaluation system, while findings shows that their institutional willingness and foundational structures, significant investment in capacity building, governance framework, and data management are necessary.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Let's now join Yusuf Akogu for stock market reports.
Welcome to Stock Market Update. I am Yusuf Akogu. NGX closed the week in green, reversing some of the losses recorded earlier in the week. The all-share index went up by 0.14%. Volume of trade 458.26 million shares, value at 14.08 billion naira in a list of 12,213 lead exchanges among investors. The top gainers from today's trade, we have Austin Last. Austin Last gained 10% to close at 2 naira and 9 kobo per share. Wando Nigeria PLC up 9.94% to close at 58 naira and 5 kobo per share. Captain Helicopter also up as well 9.67% to close at 2 naira and 95 kobo per share. The top bottom losers, we have Red Terrace down 9.96% to close at 6 naira and 60 kobo per share. Len Africa also recorded losses 9.84% to close at 3 naira and 30 kobo per share. Of course, Multiverse also ended downward 9.72% to close at 9 naira and 75 kobo per share. The top trading equities by volume, we have Zeniba Nigerian PLC 122.2 million volume of its shares were traded. FCMB Group also traded 50.16 million shares. Of course, Access Corporation 28.6 million shares it is traded today. Of course, a banking sector affair, you will say. Let's see the global stock market for today. And that's Stock Market Update. I am Yusuf Akogu.
Thank you, Yusuf, for the update. Now, moving on to the international scene, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed arrived in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, on Thursday to hold discussions with President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, Somalia's presidency said, following a thaw in IC relations. The relationship soared in January 2024 when Ethiopia announced plans to lease a stretch of coastline in Somalia's breakaway Somaliland region. Ethiopia planned to build a naval base and commercial ports in exchange for possible recognition of Somaliland's independence. Mogadishu was furious over the agreement, accusing Addis Ababa of undermining its territorial integrity. Following talks mediated by Turkey in December, the two countries pledged to find an arrangement to allow Ethiopia access to and from the sea. Mohamud then visited Ethiopia earlier in 2025. Thursday's discussion focused on a wide range of bilateral issues from trade to security as the two leaders attempt to normalize relations. Moments before the Ethiopian leader landed, shells were fired in the Somali capital, but it is unclear if the attack was associated with his visit. Somalia's security situation is highly volatile, with the Islamist Al-Shabaab group active in the country. According to health authorities, 2,700 cholera cases have been reported in war-torn Sudan's White Nile state in the first few weeks of 2025. The figure includes more than 500 children, and the outbreak has already caused dozens of deaths. In the face of the outbreak, UNICEF is ramping up its response to prevent the spread of the disease and to shield vulnerable children. The organization is providing cholera treatment kits and is backing the deployment of frontline workers to treatment centers. Following a power outage after attacks on power plants earlier in February, water supplies were disrupted in the White Nile state. As a result, many families had no choice but to collect untreated water from the White Nile River. Humanitarian agencies are seeking $2.54 billion to provide vital support and protection for over 11 million people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the DRC. This urgent request is driven by continuous attacks from the M23 rebels in the eastern part of the country and a critical shortage of funding. Last year, humanitarian partners successfully mobilized a record $1.3 billion, aiding over 7 million individuals. Dujarric expressed gratitude for the generosity of donors and emphasized the need for continued support, urging all who can assist to provide funding, access, and necessary resources to help those in need in the DRC this year. The tragic events unfolded as two explosions at a rally involving M23 rebel group leaders and local residents in eastern Congo resulted in at least 11 fatalities and 60 injuries. Let's now join Adeni Ajishafe for Sports News Update.
E-sport, also known as gaming sport, is a multi-billion-dollar digital sport growing fast in Nigeria. As part of its commitment to advancing sport industry, the National Sports Commission (NSC) on Friday inaugurated the board of E-Sport Federation of Nigeria in Abuja. The newly inaugurated board consists of 13 members: Yahaya Maikuri as president, Pedro Damilola as chief operating officer. Other members are Emmanuel Oyelakin, Sonny Gulong, Sydney Siri, Susan Adenoyi Ikechukwu, Kumi Adenipebi, the technical representative, Tunde Onokoya, international representative, Musa Sanusi Adler representative, Rita Izoje, Nawis representative, Clinton Agbo, NAFA representative and vice president. In his keynote address, NSC chairman Shehu Diko emphasized on e-sport.
Based on the data we have, DJ have said it, we have over 45 million active Nigerians who are playing gaming, all this stuff one way or the other. So what does that mean? I can say if we get the e-sports going, one of our fundamentals here, I said we want to create a sports economy. And part of it, we say part of the outcomes we are looking at, it should be 3% of GDP. With the billions that are here, we can earn a lot of money that will come into this country that will push that.
NSC DG Bukola Olapade highlighted the potentials of e-sport in Nigeria.
Spent a lifetime promoting sports. This will make you very proud because one day soon, in the next 24 months, the country will be able to say sport is a contributor to the GDP of this country. People say 3%. I believe we can even do bigger than 3%. I have no doubt that in the next few months, this gentleman will come to me and say, Oga, how did you people think about this e-sport thing? And he will be part of it.
Speaking further on gaming sport, Damilola Pedro said e-sport is more than PlayStation. It involves all digital ecosystem.
So it's beyond just sitting in front of your PlayStation and playing. And we're encouraging parents here, sisters, brothers alike, to encourage both girls and boys, because really there's no barrier into the gaming ecosystem. And we're convincing everyone here. I hope that we've convinced you with our numbers, with the level of people that are in this room. I mean, just gathering all these important people today shows you that we're here for serious business.
Mekere talks more on the impact of e-sport in the society.
We'll liaise with the commission itself. After that, we'll be able to finalize what our plan is going to look like. But having said that, the priority, first of all, is to start working with the state governments to ensure that they have associations across the state that become point of contact for us when implementing our strategy.
Nigeria is ready to key into the gaming technology to be part of the world's fastest growing industry. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we wrap up Trust TV News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news programs and documentaries. I am Sumaya Abubakar signing off from Trust TV. Do have a lovely evening.